Good day, Market Chameleons and everyone joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by to the Market Chameleon After Hours show with today's guest, Ryan Mastro from OptionsRobot. Before we get started, let's take a look at the shared disclaimer. Please be aware that neither Market Chameleon, OptionsRobot, Ryan, or myself are registered investment advisors or a broker-dealer. If you're searching for investment advice, please reach out to a licensed professional. This webinar, as all our webinars and shows, are for informational purposes only. One last look at that disclaimer, and let's welcome Ryan Mastro to the stage. How you doing, Ryan?
Good. How are you?
Perfect. Let me share your screen. We're on the Market Chameleon landing page. What do you have for the chameleons today?
Well, I think it was a pretty crazy market. If I just go over to OptionsRobot here real quick to pull up some charts just to go to see what the market has done. I was down at a conference last week and just couldn't believe what we were seeing in the sell-off, mainly in a lot of the metals, right? So gold, silver, platinum, palladium, even copper was going down, right? So things were just getting ugly. But we had that little rollover between Wednesday to Friday. It was pretty ugly. We had a gap down this morning, and they were able to bring it back up. So it looks pretty good here at the moment. Looks like we can continue. I think the big thing for the week, two big names in terms of earnings, Google, right, looking pretty good, all-time high, and Amazon kind of lagging that all-time high, but trying to push up through it. So we'll have to see if we can get that follow through. That is going to be on Thursday. Google's on Wednesday. So those two names in my radar, not trading them, mainly because the implied volatilities are really high at the moment. So I think those are going to be on the critical to watch. We do have some jobs this week, job reports this week. So ADP, Challenger, continuing claims, and then BLS on Friday. So that's going to play in new month. So we're going to be watching what that says and how that plays out. There's a lot of talk about Warsh on Friday, which is the potential nomination for, I should say, the nomination for the new Fed chair. Again, we'll see how that plays out. I don't think the silver sell-off was because of him, even though that's what they're attributing it to. I think this was a coordinated sell-off that they really took advantage of from an institutional perspective and had this margin increase on the CME that really was a major factor. So, between the sell-off here and a little bit of follow-through here today, I'm about ready. We start to see any kind of follow-through tomorrow. I'll be loading back up on silver and ready to go in terms of trying to push this back up towards highs. And I think nothing has changed in terms of international. So more buying is going on as we speak. And I think all of the Asia, European counterparts are, buying as much as they can. Now, I don't know how much they're going to be able to get out of the US because of restrictions, but, definitely try and take advantage of this ARB if they can do it. So got to keep that in the back of your radar. I'd be looking at a bunch of those miners, names I've mentioned in the past, PAAS. Again, drop down big time. Volume kind of in here hanging tough. AG is another good name. SLV, obviously, we already talked about. Hecla Mining's really gotten beaten up, going from 34 to 20. You look at CDE is another decent name. I think it's EXK I have in my portfolio as well. So again, a lot of these names have gotten beaten up and still have potential. If you're looking for copper, you can do FCX. If you're looking for palladium, PALL is one that we've watched. And platinum, we've done PP. I think it's LT, which is platinum physical. So that's gotten beaten up as well. So all of those names could be played on these massive pullbacks, basically CME increasing margins across the board. That being said, let's come back over to our markets. Actually, you know what? One last chart I want to bring up that I thought was very interesting was IWM. And the options on here are pretty awesome in terms of looking at, looking at your ATR, you're looking at moving roughly $4. And when you can come in here and buy an option, let me wrong chart, let me go over here to option chains. And you can come over in here and play a at the money option. I'm not going to play the 2s, the 4s. Nope, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go down to the 6s down here, right? And look at the 6s. And this is, you can see I'm getting into an option. You're going to have a little decay here, somewhere a little over $2. So when you can do that, you have an option that's going to cost you $2 and you have a stock that's moving roughly $4. if you can get $4 of movement, think about that on an at the money option, you're moving every dollar, it's 50 cents. So if I can move to $4, that's $2. That's going to get me roughly 100% return on my option. So I'm always looking for that type of ratio. When I look at, again, the delta, right, comparatively what I'm moving, roughly a 50 delta, and I can get a 100% return after I look at my delta based off of the ATR movement. So again, it works on multiple measures. If I have a $10 stock, if I, again, the option is roughly, if I have a $10 option, right, I want to see that stock moving roughly 20 bucks. Now, again, may not move 20 bucks all in the right direction, but it could be moving pretty aggressively. So that's one thing I just want to mention. I thought IWM, I was looking at that at the end of the day. I thought that was very interesting. So let's go over again. I'm not a big earnings player in terms of the, looking at our, I don't know why I'm a little bit, I got to refresh there or something. There we go. So it's my fault. So Google obviously coming out with earnings. Oracle had some news in here. There's plenty of stocks that are moving today, positive and negative. So again, you guys do such a great scan across the board here. This is your UOA, decent volume here in SLV. Obviously, that has been on fire with a big drop off. Apple looked really good. Gold looked really good. Microsoft, not so much. You can see you already have listed here as sentiment as bearish. So, Microsoft on the chart looked lousy. GME got to be on your radar. That's starting to percolate there. Let me just take a quick peek at that for you. GME on the chart has been on fire the last couple of days here, and you can see that we've really started to rebound, take out a lot of the resistance. We are getting up into some resistance back in October of last year, I think it is. Let me see right down here. Yeah, so we're back into October. So we can get through this area. This really could get off the races, get back up to some of the bigger resistance up in the 30 range. Excuse me. So GME I would have on the radar. I'm looking at that one personally as a longer term trade, and I want to sit on this. So this is one I'm actually going all the way out to like something like June. I think it's the June 18s I have, and I'm selling premium along the way. So for an example, something like this, I'm selling premium up in here, 27, 28s. And if we get through there, I'm probably going to buy my short calls back and then let this thing run, because I think it's going to go on a much more explosive run once it gets through there. So I would have that on my radar as maybe kind of that diagonal. Buy a at the money or in the money option out in June, and then just keep selling some premium if you can in the near term to help offset the decay. And so if it doesn't go right away, you have at least a little premium to kind of fight against. So let's go back over here and look at some of the other names that were in here. Energy was not really that sexy. We did have crude down about $2-3. Crude was down, $3 on the nose so far today. Rare earth started to pick back up a little bit. USAR. So we look at that real quick on the chart. USAR. And didn't. Whoops. No, sorry. Bad zoom on my part. Didn't really get the love that I thought we did. We were up on the day at one point when I looked at it earlier, but they've sold back into it. So I'm not really interested in that one. Hekla's on the radar here. We already mentioned that. Boyle basically had a big sell-off. I think this was more of a sell-on news where, again, the big storm that came through, and basically it's all over and done. So no big major catastrophic problems there. Southwest, again, a little bit of bearish paper on that. Nothing really else jumps out at me in this list. Obviously, Microsoft was pretty lousy today. Disney had earnings that was pretty lousy, but nothing really says like I wanna jump in and trade. I've looked at most of the names in here. A couple other names that go on the second page of this. Let's see. Teladoc did have some decent paper, but nothing. Caterpillar was up pretty strong. Let's see here. Teradyne. I'm just trying to go down through this list. This Royal Caribbean, right, it had a decent move. Just to come back to that one real quick. Royal Caribbean had a decent move. I actually looked at both CCL and NCLH. CCL I thought looked really, really strong there comparatively to RCL, right? And I think CCL is at a critical spot. That would probably be one I would look at, or NCLH, which is their Norwegian Cruise Lines. And that was taking out highs here. So I think I like the CCL a little bit better. And if we can get through this area, just because of the chart in itself, how strong this has been, how long it's been back in this zone. So we've been down. I don't know if I can zoom out enough to really give you context. Can I go to a weekly? Let's see if I can zoom out, do an auto on that for you. There's your weekly on all the data I can grab here. So this has basically been beaten down and finally starting to percolate, come back up here. So if I go back to a daily to show you that chart, you can see kind of what we're looking at, that you had this big cup and handle. So this one to me is poised for a much bigger move. Again, I'd probably look at a little bit further out in time, give myself a little bit room to breathe. I think you could probably see a maybe $10 to $12 move out of this, right? You got a 15 to 30, so almost $17. So again, you got a small gap way up there, so that's trading around 41. So if you do a entry bot on this one, so entry bot, and we'll do CCL greater than, I'm going to take out the highs of the day. We were about 32.75, and we do that. Whoops, missed it. 32.75, and I'm going to say add an option. I'm going to give myself a little bit more time. Maybe go out to a March, and I'll play the slightly out of the monies on that. So we'll do that, do quick, and we'll do create. So again, what our service is about is making this as fast and easy as possible for you to be able to trade, especially when you're not able to be at your desk trading. So we created these templates that these bots will manage your position for you. So again, you can select whatever style of trading you want, however often you want to trade. If it's just get up to a certain price point and get out, that we can do that. Set your stops. But the goal for me is I want to be able to take profit along the way. So for something like this, I'm going to do probably, it's a slightly smaller stock. So I'm going to do this one. So what this will automatically do for me, and oh, did I hit it twice? I want to get out of this one. I'm going to delete both of these, so I'm not sure what happened there. Let's do create management. Let's do apply. Okay, so this is basically saying if I'm in this call, and let's do a preview of group. So if I'm in this call and I'm going to roll it up at the stock, no, I did $4 by accident. It should be $2. Either way, that's my fault. So again, if we get into this one, and then I have the ability to roll down with stops all built into it. So that's a good little tool there for anybody that's into AI. We did create a new analyze on this, where this will analyze the system for you. So it'll give you an idea of your position, what you're basically trying to do there with whatever position you have on, long calls, short calls. If you don't know what it's doing, it'll give you a summary. We give you a market context in terms of what could really go. And then if you don't know what style of trade or how to get out of this, it'll suggest a management bot for you. So it'll continue to do that. So I'm not gonna waste your time on all that, but does give you a really good write-up in terms of, hey, here's what the market's doing. Here's what, given all the data that we just analyzed, this looks either bullish or you're an idiot for being in this trade. No, I'm just kidding. It basically will just say if it's bullish or bearish. So it does look pretty cool from what we've been able to glean from that. It's been pretty positive. So you got a question coming in?
Yeah, well, while you're on this page, Jim, who I mentioned last week, he wasn't on, but is on, and asked if you've seen any. He had a question. He does quite a lot of spread trading, and he's been in a situation where spreads are no longer getting filled. I mentioned it to you last week. He asked if you've seen anything different, and then he also goes on to ask, when Ryan sets up a spread trade with Quick Trade, his template starts at bid for debit spreads and walks up towards ask. With the MMMs walk in the midpoint, which is what Jim's seeing, at what point does the trade get canceled if it does not get filled? Maybe Ryan can pick 5 stocks to trade this week and get back to us next Monday and see if he had any issues filling the trade. So Jim's still having a problem, and I think Jim may be using E-Trade, but he's still having a problem getting filled on his spread trades, obviously.
Yeah, so we've been, again, that may be specifically to E-Trade, I don't know what they're doing with their order flow, if they're selling their order flow now. I would try to ask the brokers, specifically if something has changed on that side of it. I know that's happened to a couple brokers, and depending on who they're selling the order flow. So not only time, or if you're specifically getting sent to a specific floor. So you may be locked on a specific floor or something like that. And I would check your settings on that. I'm pretty sure E-Trade has the ability to go to right to one specific floor. So that could have something to do with if you're getting to a floor that doesn't do much volume. So, one thing that I have noticed, I've actually had several clients say the exact same thing. So maybe a little bit more of what you're seeing, but not to the extent where you can't get anything done. So it may be something where you have to do more of the leg in, where you get into trades, use something like an options robot where you start one trade. And then if it let's say, for example, you want to be in a call spread, buy your option right away. Use what we do for that bid-ask spread in terms of trade settings. You can set up your trade smart order configuration down here. So if I want to start at the mid on like a default and then price slice it all the way up, all that's really doing is working the spread or working the individual option, and basically doing the work that I would do as an individual. It just gets old to have to do it, right? To work every order. So if you can have the automation do it for you, again, if you want to wait a little bit longer, you do a slow one and say, I'm going to break this up to 5 every 15 seconds, or I want to do 7 over 15 seconds, or if I want to start at the bid and I can work my way up from there. So it gives you that variation to allow you to trade and see if it's going to get you into trades. We've seen a price improvement. And again, you can select where you want to start from. So we have seen a slight improvement from the mid, right, in terms of getting filled, because especially on spreads, you can still get, it really depends on what types of spreads you're looking at, what types of stocks you're looking at. Obviously, big high flyer names, that are really, really wide become a little bit more difficult due to lack of liquidity. If you're trading in the middle of the markets on some of the bigger weighted names that have very tight liquidity, that we've had no problems at all. So I think maybe a little bit of that too, on what you're trading. So to come back, hopefully that answers the question. But two other things.
He's got some other things he says, actually. He says that, well, he's trading on E-Trade and Robinhood. Also been playing. The spreads are the same across all 3 brokers, is what he said. The spread he's saying is set by the market makers, not a broker issue. Filling can be per the broker. The spreads are part of the issue. I don't know what you exactly mean by that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I mean, if you can give me an example of a stock, right, and we can kind of look at how wide some of this stuff is, then that maybe give us a glean on the why. I mean, you and I are both market makers, and I was a specialist on the floor. So, I mean, to understand, the width and the spread is important. I mean, if you look at something like a CCL, it's a small price stock. It's still 15 cents wide. But you get into something like an ASML, the stock doesn't trade much in terms of the volume. And, you're at the money zone there, still going to be several dollars wide. So here you're almost $2 wide. So if you go to go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say a couple of the stocks he wanted to look at were AMD, Palantir, PLTR, and CCL, which maybe you already talked about CCL. I'm not sure.
So CCL is the one we just put that trade idea in. If you go over to, again, let's come back to an AMD. So AMD is going to have earnings. So again, if you're into playing earnings, that's fine. But again, I think what you want to be aware of is what the straddle is going to suggest to you, right? So what's the straddle in here? So if I just go over another page, I got it on my other screen. I'm not going to bring it up again here, but AMD on your this Friday you're looking at a straddle of call it $21, a little over $21. So in reality, you're looking at a move here from your price of 250 to up to 270, making new highs, and or a potential low. We're about 246. So call it 266 up at the highs, and then coming back down into basically your 50-day, right? So 50 and your 100 kind of in their support. So again, that's what the market makers are expecting as a potential move based off of the straddle offer. So that's important to watch. And then what was the other one, AMD?
Yeah, AMD.
I'm sorry, what was that one?
AMD was one and Palantir was the other.
Palantir. So Palantir had an upgrade this morning and they gapped it up and unfortunately sold back into it. So this is still kind of in that risk off scenario. It's making a higher low, it did make the higher high. So tomorrow, what I'd like to see is it kind of opened unchanged and the market be bullish and we actually have a green close. That would make me feel much better as a bull to try to start to ride this back up. Otherwise, again, I think you got to maintain a neutral to a bearish stance on this. Volume is starting to dry up a little bit, so maybe buyers start to step in and take control of it. But right now, it still feels a little bit heavy in my opinion. And if we were to take out lows, let's say Friday's low, I'd probably want to be bearish. I'd probably want to continue on the downside if that continues to work for you there. So for something like that, what I would do is I'd probably put an entry bot and say as a bear. So for that one, I'd be less than. And let's see if I can go back over Friday's low. Let's see, we'll go to one day. And Friday's low was, survey says 140, oh, wrong day. 140 low is 145.14. So if I say down below, let's say 144.75. So it's got to break it. And it basically then will show me, I would say, let's add an option. And I would buy some puts. I'd probably trade that. I'd probably give it a little bit more time. And I would go down to, let's say, 145 on that one. And say if it were to keep going down, I would do my quick. Again, I can move this up to be at the mid and go from there if that's really works on that. Now, again, maybe I'm reading it wrong of what Jim was asking. But if he asking for the like actually doing spreads or looking at the bid ask spread, I think you're saying he's doing spreads like a verticals, right?
Yeah, I think he's doing verticals.
Yeah. Okay, so for something like this one, a little pricier, I'll go to the $3 and do that one. So this is again from a template perspective. If the stock moves up by 20%, then I'm going to get out. If it moves down by 20%, this one's doing 20%, 20%. So it'll allow me just to kind of keep playing this in terms of the puts. Again, you can make whatever variation you want. We have a bunch of different templates in there for you.
Yeah, he likes doing debit spreads actually.
Right, and yeah, debit spread is great because you have limited loss and allows you to kind of work down that. Now, I want to do one more because I did build one. I'm hoping it's going to pull up for me in here. If I go option chains again, and I was building one before we got into class. I actually talked about it at the end of the day with some clients. And I think this is one you kind of have to keep an eye on. You come over to like an MU, had a really good day on the chart, had a big reversal candle. And, these are constantly being talked about. SanDisk had a phenomenal day. WDC had a great day. STX had a great day. MU, I think, has the potential to really go. I had created a simulate on this. I'm not sure if it's still there. Let's see. So I had created a long call butterfly. This is a directional out of the money call butterfly. And again, I'm looking at, so stock currently trading around 439. I'm playing an out of the money call, which is the 445s, selling the 465s and buying the 485s. Stock moves about $20 a day. And I'm selling kind of up at the upper end of the straddle for the week. So this is, I believe this is, let me just double check on this for you. This is a Feb 20. I can go down to a Feb 13. That's $2.86. I can go to this week, $2.96. So I don't mind this week. One big day up tomorrow, you're going to be feeling pretty good about this, but you do need decay for this to occur, right? You do need a decay for this to continue to work. So I think just having this as a kicker, maybe do something like a 1 lot on this or a 2 lot just to kind of keep the interest, because I think something like this could double very, very quickly, very, very easily. I'd probably put an offer out there. If you get in for roughly 3, I'd put an offer out there at $5 or $6 and be happy with getting out of the trade, very, very quickly. So that is one that I think you definitely want to be watching in terms of putting something like that on. So this one, let's see if I put it on at midpoint, that should be somewhere around that 296 on that one. So if I place that order and that is going live in there for that on a one lot, 1x2x1. So hopefully that helps on that. So any other questions?
Yeah, I had my buddy, the mayor from the morning show, sent me a trade he was looking at today. I think he may have even put it on. He wanted to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
And it was in PWR, Quanta Services.
PWR, okay.
It was selling a March 20. It was a 47,430 put vertical, basically.
So he's selling. Let's just do a quick option chain. So he was in the March 20.
So he's selling the 470. He's selling the 470 put, I'm assuming, and buying the 430 put, that vertical.
And then buying a 430 as protection. So you're bringing great premium, right? My only concern is how close it is. So you look at the chart, selling the 470s, and you're really opening yourself up to a lot of risk to the downside. Again, you look at something like that, I would say you're really tight. I mean, for me, I'd be a little bit uncomfortable with it. But if you look over at your, let's see, just do this, make my life a little bit easier, PWR, and you got to have a long time for this thing to work, that has to work for you in that scenario. So I like to have my credit spreads a little bit shorter. I understand you're bringing in great premium, but let's see, we're going to sell a put vertical, sell short put vertical right there. So 470, 430. And you're right here, right? So you're going to start to give way as it starts to drop down. And here, I understand the logic, but you know what? This is even correct. It's not on the right expiration. So I got to go up to March and add a little bit more premium in there. So you're bringing in a good chunk of money. Don't get me wrong. I can see where you're looking at, but you're nowhere near your kind of where this thing could get to. I mean, I would say, be on the lower end of this. Maybe if they had maybe the 450s, you're not bringing in as much money. You just got to understand your margin, right? I think that's one. I have no problem with the risk as long as you understand where it's getting to. For me, if I looked at that chart again, and what we do is we do some trades a little bit, maybe not as aggressive as this one, but I would make sure, because you have a lot of time, that if it does start to break down, where are you uncomfortable with it, right? How much room are you willing to give this? Today's low was 465, right? So you're automatically feeling more pain here. If it gets back down to 465, you're like, ah, shit, this is starting to really hurt, because you're $5 against you already. So for me, I would probably use today's low as my morph level. And what I do with that is I try to buy back my short option and then try to ride my long option down to get for a break even. Now, you're really far away. You're $30 out of the money. So you may not have enough delta to really kick in and help you offset that initial loss, because you're so close to the at the monies. So again, I would just have something, right? You got to use your discipline here. So set yourself an alert, do something that says, okay, I'm definitely going to be looking to get out of this trade. Or if you're used to the risk, you're saying, okay, I have $13 to play with, and that's your break even, then use that $13. But you have a long time for that to work out. And you have potential to lose if it's $13. If I'm looking at it correctly, then you have $17 of potential loss, right? So it's a good risk reward, right? Because you're, for a credit spread, a lot of credit spreads are like trying to collect $2 and potentially to lose $8. So in this scenario, your numbers are a lot better, but because that is just so much closer, it doesn't have the same potential probability of success. So again, I think he's got to be very careful there.
All right, last one is just your overall opinion of SPY. That was from another person from the morning show. That was a question.
SPY has done really well today. I mean, it wasn't as strong as the Qs, but it's still lagging a little bit in terms of the Qs and the semis. They've been a little bit stronger, but I think for the most part, they're doing their best to get this stuff back up. I've seen, again, I think the question becomes this week is, what do the jobs look like? What are they going to start to, a lot of talking heads this week for interest rates. Are they going to start to say we're going to drop? If so, by how much? drop rates here in the next time. We still got another month and a half left for that. So, that it's important to kind of keep an eye on, where the economy's going. But as long as jobs are somewhat in line, we're not really kind of having a kind of spike there, I think. And long as Google and Amazon don't blow anything up, and as long as we don't have anything from Japan, there's a lot of what ifs there. But I think for the most part, as Google looks pretty good, and Amazon's going to look pretty good. Walmart, Target, and Costco are all strong today. So I think Amazon's probably going to have a good print here, at least on that's going to be on Thursday afternoon. So still want to be a buyer, still want to be long. Trend for the most part is up, right? We still have trend going up. We're not making higher highs at the moment, but I think, again, we should be able to get there by the end of the week.
Perfect. We're up against the hour, but we did have one more stock symbol. Can you do it?
Sure.
APP.
Very risky, very thin, and really not getting out of its own way. Had positive news this morning. They gapped it up. They sold into it. I would probably, if you're going to look to be a buyer, I would look to be above the $200 or 200 moving average, that blue line there. Give you some kind of confidence that institutions are willing to step back in, some kind of volume that's going to move it back up. I'd be a put buyer down below Friday's low, because it was really, really ugly.
Perfect. Another great job, Ryan. Thanks for bringing this chameleon community, my friend.
You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it. I hope everyone gets some value out of it.
Are we still having the offer for the chameleon community? I didn't even ask that.
You know what? I think someone had texted me, and someone was not able to get in, so I do apologize. You can resend the information or let me know. I'll give you the same deal. I have no problem with that. I think we said 2 months. Is that what we were doing?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 months. Let's make up another code, and I'll do that in the next couple of minutes.
Let's not make up another code, because I have it attached to an email. I think it would be better.
Okay. So what was the code we gave you?
I'm getting it right now. Sorry about that. I think it was Smart 2026 MC.
Start 26 or
was it Smart or Start? Start 2026 MC or Smart 2026 MC?
I thought it was Start 2026 MC.
All right. That's what we'll go with.
Okay. So then we'll do that and push that out, and we'll kick some butt.
All right. Perfect. Great job again, Ryan. Thanks for bringing it to the chameleon community. We will talk to you soon, my friend, next Monday at 4:30.
Have a good one.
Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining another Market Chameleon webinar series with Ryan Mastro from OptionsRobot. Make sure you take advantage of that offer Ryan's given you. It's a great one, and it's the best service out there for trying to manage your trades. When you're at work doing another job, you can actually do the research at night, put in your spots, and let the OptionsRobot manage the trades, which is pretty incredible. So everyone, have a great, safe trading day. Join us tomorrow, 9 a.m. with Dimitri for our free webinar series. And everyone, thanks for joining. Thumbs up, always appreciated. Following on all the social platforms, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. Thank you. Have a great, safe evening and a great start to the trading day tomorrow. Bye-bye.